reason why we're here today is because we have a weather event. Ken is going to describe the weather event for us. If it becomes a storm, her name will be Cindy. He's going to identify exactly what it is for us, but it is what we consider to be a major weather event that we want everybody to pay attention to. This is the second press conference we have had because we are in the throes of hurricane season. We did one 3 or 4 weeks ago, and then 2 weeks ago we did one with the governor and everybody else. I'm now waking everybody up in the city to, we have our first storm that we really need to pay attention to and to get ready for. We are expecting very heavy rain in the city of New Orleans and in the surrounding areas. Of course, the entire Gulf Coast is going to be in harm's way for the next couple of days. We're expecting between 3 to 12 inches. That's a very big gap. 3 to 12 inches of rain. 3 inches of rain means that you're going to get some flooding. 12 inches of rain means that you're going to get a lot, depending on where you are. Now, we have very sophisticated folks in this city. You know where the low-lying areas are. You know where the dangers are. So we're calling you into alert right now, not to panic, but again, to be personally responsible and to be ready. As you can see, the entire city is ready. The Emergency Operations Center is open and functioning. The 311 Center is receiving calls. Anybody can feel free to call that for concerns that they have. The heaviest rain is expected Wednesday and Thursday. That is, we expect to cause isolated street flooding depending on what happens at any particular time. On TV, you will notice that the cone is heading west. That doesn't mean that we're not in harm's way. We absolutely are, and Ken will explain a little bit more of that in detail. We could see rising tides from 1 to 3 feet. If we get rain over 3 hours and a pretty heavy, you're going to see that in some parts of the city. You may see greater impacts in Venetian Isles and in Lake Catherine. So I would ask the citizens in those areas to be particularly aware of what is going on. As I've said, we've activated the Homeland Security Emergency Operations Center. We have standing with us Homeland Security, NOPD, New Orleans Fire Department, EMS, the Health Department, the Sewage and Water Board, the National Weather Service, RTA, Entergy, all of actively monitoring the situations. Now, this year, NOAA predicted that we're going to have somewhere between 11 to 17. I may be off a bit, but this might be our third event that is not fully formed into a storm, but it is a serious event that's not only going to bring us rain and wind, but it's going to bring us water. You'll hear me say every year when we talk about this, we get stuck on categories 1 through 5. The slosh model talks to us about surge as well, and this is going to be one of those events. I want to make sure that everybody understands that we're much better protected than we used to be. We have a $14.5 billion levee system now that protects us, but that is just a risk reduction strategy. It's not a guarantee strategy that you're not going to get wet. And so, again, I just want to make sure that we all stay together. I am heartened by the fact that the Senate today is confirming Brock Long as the new FEMA administrator, right on time. So we know him and have worked with him, and we expect that he's going to do well, and we wish him well. Again, I want to make sure that everybody gets kind of woken up from their complacency because we're in the game now. So right now, one of the things that you can do to help is make sure that you are clearing your storm drains, make sure you are battening down any loose furniture that you might have, make sure that you're cleaning out all the things that are necessary that would put you in harm's way. Also, if you do not have a plan, or if you need help developing a plan, ready.NOLA.gov is where we want you to go. There are lots of examples of work that has been done. Also, if you have special needs and you want to register, 311 is open and available. Please call to register for special needs. You also can call 311 if there are any non-emergency situations that are occurring. Anytime there's an emergency, please call 911. So, listen, we've been through this many, many times before. I don't want anybody to panic. There's no reason to do that, but this is going to be a serious event. We could get lucky, and it could turn out to be nothing. We don't expect that's going to happen. It could be 1 to 3, or it could be 3 to 12. And if those bands hit us the wrong way intimately over time, then we could have some serious flooding in and around the metropolitan area of New Orleans, and particularly in the city. So I want to thank all the people that are standing around me. They work 24/7 when these events happen. Unfortunately, because this happens so much, we have developed an expertise that I think is probably better than anywhere else in the country, and I feel very secure with the leaders that we have behind us. So I thank you all for allowing me to speak. I want to ask Ken Graham to come up and really kind of expand on some of the things that I said about the particular storm and what to expect, to be followed by Aaron Miller, Chief Michael Harris, and Cedric Grant, Justin Augustine from the RTA, Ted Patella from Entergy, and then the council members, and then we'll take questions that you might have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm Ken Graham with the National Weather Service. We're going to talk about potential tropical cyclone 3. And we at the Weather Service and all of NOAA, we're on the ground, keep an eye on this 24/7. So we're really watching for these changes. And I did want to note, you know, our agency spends a lot of time in the science to figure out how strong it'll be, where it's going to go. We spend equal amount of time on the social science of these storms about communicating those impacts, because impacts is really where it is. So here's some really key points about this system. It is critical that we don't focus just on that cone or that track, because the impacts are well outside that cone, hundreds of miles outside that cone. So it's really critical that we keep communicating that. The other thing is we are outside the cone. So we need to let people know they're seeing the cone, that's where they're focusing, that people continue to focus on that. It's really important we focus on the impacts. And the impacts could really shift if that storm moves 20, 30 miles in either direction. The impacts to us right here are completely different from those small shifts. So those are big things to remember. So right now we think those impacts are going to be the heavy rain. So just like the mayor said, if we get some dry positions inside that storm, we may get 1 to 3, 4 inches. But if we get some of those rain bands, if the storm shifts, we could get in the upwards, upwards of 10 inches of rain, even more in some places. So the impacts could be a lot different. So that's what we got to talk about with this. We are under a tropical storm warning outside of New Orleans. This is mainly along the coast and the offshore, on the offshore interest. New Orleans is not under that tropical storm warning, so we don't expect the winds to be a big factor. There could be some gusty winds in the squalls, but for the most part, they'll be associated right along the coast. This is the big takeaway here. So we don't know where that rain's going to occur. So as a result, we have to be ready for our warnings. So 24/7, we're watching the radar. We're going to watch where those bands are. When that happens, people have to have their phone. I take my phone out of my pocket a lot of times at these events. Have your phone ready, have the weather radio ready, have a mechanism to get our warnings. Because that's when we're noticing something on the radar, someplace it's getting too much rain. We'll put out those warnings for you. So everyone has to have a mechanism to get those warnings, even in the middle of the night, to be able to have those. So the takeaway is this: we're going to prepare for the worst. You know, in case we get that 10 inches of rain, we'll have some flooding. We're going to hope for the best. If we get lucky in here, we'll get 1 to 3 inches. But either way, we have to be able to communicate those impacts and we have to be ready. So that's the story on potential tropical cyclone 3. And I do have to say a lot of kudos to our Hurricane Center, because we have some new products. A year ago, we wouldn't have had any of these products. These are all brand new, and I think that part's really exciting. And as a result, we can issue products in a cone based on something that doesn't exist yet. So that's a big step forward. A year ago, we wouldn't have had any of these, and I think that's a big kudos to our agency. So anyway, that's the scoop, and appreciate that.
Appreciate it. Thank you. All right, Aaron.
Thank you. Good morning. As the mayor mentioned, the Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness is monitoring the potential tropical system. We're in regular communication with not only the National Weather Service, but our partners at the Governor's Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness and the other local emergency management agencies in Southeast Louisiana. The Crisis Action Team of Public Safety, Sewage and Waterborne and Infrastructure officials are already in the Emergency Operations Center. Tomorrow morning, as we expect the heaviest rains to begin to impact the area, we will be moving to 24-hour status, monitoring developments in real time, and providing updates to residents in the city. The 3 key things that we want everybody to take away as we enter this storm and as we enter hurricane season: remember, first and foremost, to put together that emergency kit. Have on hand additional food, water, and additional supplies such as batteries, flashlights, those things in case there's a power outage. The second thing is to make that plan. You heard Ken talk briefly about how are you going to receive your warnings. Well, also think about in your plan your emergency communication methods with your friends, your family members, and your neighbors. Check on them in the event that there is localized flooding. Make sure that you have the ability to communicate. And the third and the most important is stay informed. Sign up for weather alerts, pay attention to your local meteorologists, and be sure that you can receive the critical updates not only from the city, but from the National Weather Service. Visit ready.NOLA.gov to sign up to receive those alerts from text, email, or phone call. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Thank you, Mayor. Good morning. New Orleans Police Department will be adequately staffed and ready and prepared to respond to any emergencies that happen tomorrow as a result of the rain or any other emergencies. What we want to admonish our citizens is a number of things. Number one, visibility because of the heavy rain will be extremely low, sometimes at zero, which makes it extremely dangerous to drive, not only for the citizens, but for first responders. So we want to ask and admonish that you limit and reduce the amount of driving you have to do, because visibility will be very low, will be very dangerous. Number two, because of flooding, it makes it very difficult to drive through those waters. So we would admonish everybody to be very careful not to take any chances to drive through any standing water. There's no way to know how deep the water is. There could be potholes and craters. There could be breaks in the street. We admonish you not to drive through that water because there's no way to know how deep it will be. And if you get flooded, we're coming to you in police vehicles. It makes it that much harder for us to get to you. So please limit and reduce the amount of driving you have to do because of low to no visibility and because of street flooding. But we will be prepared to handle any emergency response that come up. We're adequately staffed. We just want to make sure you protect yourselves. And certainly, if you're in water, please do not drive fast because that pushes water into people's homes that cause more damage than necessary. So we would ask that we be good citizens and good neighbors and not push that water through people's homes. This time we'll ask Senator Grant to come
Good morning. First responders to the Sewage and Water Board are prepared to provide quality water services during this emergency. All 24 pump stations with 120 pumps are staffed and fully operational. The drainage system is capable of removing 1 inch of rain in the first hour of an event and 1/2 inch of rain for every hour thereafter. You can help us by cleaning out your catch basins ahead of the storm. Removing trash and leaves and debris will help prevent the water from pooling in the street and allow us to evacuate the water that much quicker. We ask that, as the chief has said, drivers be mindful of road conditions, especially around underpasses. If there's standing water, it certainly will be deeper than it appears. We have procured emergency generators, response boats, communications equipment, and all is on station and prepared to operate. So we're prepared for the event.
Thank you. All right, Justin, RTA.
Morning. All essential personnel in operations, maintenance, and administration at the RTA have been activated and are on call for the storm-related activities. The RTA will continue to provide transit services as weather and road conditions permit. Streetcars will be replaced with buses if winds, we don't expect it, but if winds exceed 35 miles per hour and there's any line blockage or any pooling of water, streetcars cannot flow through and we will replace them with buses. But to be on the safe side, as a reminder, buses can only operate under 2 feet of water. So at the bottom step of a bus, if the water level exceeds that bottom step of a bus, we cannot proceed through that thoroughfare. So be mindful of that. But most important, a reminder, and I know through this process we all try to take our cars to higher ground. Please do not block the streetcar lines. It's important. We have to get those trains through this process to make sure we move people. If there are any emergencies, please contact the RTA directly. Thank you.
All right, Ted Patella, Entergy.
Good morning. Ted Patella, Region Manager, Entergy New Orleans. Entergy is ready to restore power should outages occur. We're currently monitoring weather conditions in the Gulf and the projected storm path. Entergy has begun the process of alerting employees and begun pre-storm preparations. We have started reaching out to our mutual aid crews to assist with restoration efforts as needed. Our focus is and will continue to be the safety of our employees and the public. Restoration could be impacted if street flooding occurs, and buckets cannot work until wind drops below 30 miles per hour. Also, wanted to pass along some important information. You can go ahead and go to EnergyStormCenter.com or download the Entergy app for up-to-date information. Thank you.
I'd like to call each of the council members to come up and make a comment.
Jason Williams, President of the City Council, Chair of the Utility Committee. You just heard from Entergy, but I want to tell you, first of all, we work year-round to make sure we're prepared for events like this. And so there's a plan in place should there be any outages to respond quickly and safely. We'll pray for the best and be prepared for the worst. People of the city of New Orleans are better equipped and more prepared than any citizens of any city anywhere else in this country for something like this. I want to say to the seniors out there and to people who live next door to seniors, I want you to go check on them today before any bad weather events start. Call your neighbor, let them know you're there if needed, let them know that you're there, and you may need help if you are a senior. To parents who have their kids in camp in summer, camps don't always have the same emergency plans that schools have. You may want to call the camp today. You may want to keep your child home Wednesday and Thursday just to be on the safe side so that you don't have to go out in this bad weather event if you don't have to. If you don't have to go out, stay at home. Be safe, but more importantly, take care of each other. That's the difference between us and other cities. We take care of our own, and I know we're going to do it in this case too.
James Gray, District E. I will repeat what our president said. We are better prepared than any other group of people anywhere in this country for this emergency. One, because we have more practice. Two, because we do have a good plan. The third thing is, if you're inside the levee, we, with our pumps and all of that, we can handle this water as well as anyone anywhere in this world can handle water. If you're outside the levee, and unfortunately in my district, we have Venetian Isles and Lake Catherine, they are subject to the surge, and they're outside the levee, but they're experienced, trained people themselves, and I'm sure they're going to take the precautions that are necessary. If we do what we know how to do, we'll be okay. One thing we can all do right now is go make sure those catch basins are clean, because the pumps don't work if the water can't get down the drain. Thank you.
Good morning, and thank you, Mayor. I will just reiterate the need to ensure that furniture that's outside is secured. Any belongings just at the front and the back of your homes, please make sure they are secured. In addition, check on your neighbors. I would advise and encourage all residents to truly get the Nextdoor app. The City of New Orleans will also communicate with residents through Nextdoor. As well, we will ensure those parents who have their children signed up in the Nord Sea camps, the city will be giving you additional information as we move along. So please make sure that you have all of the, not only the apps, but your batteries for your radio, and just so you can be connected to information that we put out on a daily basis and as we move through this process. Take care and make sure that your pets are also secured. And let's really do the best that we can to check on our neighbors, of course our seniors, but also those who are living with disabilities. And so we're stronger together, and let's take care of one another. Thank you.
Thank you. I can't emphasize enough of having your game plan ready to put into place. The City of New Orleans grounds have been saturated for the last month. May was the eighth wettest day on record, from what I understand, and we want everybody to be ready. As far as our seniors, make sure you have your prescriptions filled. Also, this is a good time to locate those insurance papers if needed. Check on your surrounding grounds outside your home. Watch out for those tree branches because, like I said, they are. We've had a lot of rain in the recent weeks. Just want everybody to be ready and to be safe. Thank you.
Good morning. The big takeaway that I would like for our citizens to remember is to be prepared. This is not a point where we panic, but everyone certainly be prepared. Have your communications, whatever your method of communications will be, check on those who live alone. We've heard from Cedric Grant about the catch basins in the streets, and Sujan Mortimer reports to the council on a regular basis. And so this is just for us to take individual responsibility for the catch basins and the drains in front of our homes. And certainly we will be prepared. We're hoping for the best, but I think you can see we have a great team working on all of this, and we just want our citizens to know that we will be in constant communication and that it's just important for them to just be ready.
want to, again, thank all of our council members for being such great partners, and just reiterate a couple of very simple and basic things that we all know to be true. In these storms, either big or small, when there's loss of life, more often than not, it's because of somebody doing something after the storm, cutting limbs in, close connection to electrical wires, or automobile accidents that should have never taken place, or people driving into areas that is got water in it, but you don't know how deep it is. Those are the kinds of careless things that we continue to engage in that hurt us more often than not. Again, I trust that everybody in New Orleans is going to do what is necessary to be aware and to be just keep in mind. If we have to have other updates, we will do that on a fairly regular basis. I think everybody knows now where you can get your information from. So I just commend it to everybody and hope that everybody can stay safe, and we'll keep you updated as information changes. Yes.
If it turns out to be a rain event, is it really a common sense event for people of don't go sightseeing? If most people in New Orleans understand the pockets that flood, Franklin, State Street, Carrollton,
I'm not trying to make light of this, but we live in New Orleans and we just tend to not like rules. But some of them are really common sense, which is if there's standing water, don't drive in it. If there's a lot of water and you drive through it really fast, you're going to create a wake and you're going to hurt somebody else. If there's a lot of wind and stuff's out on the lakefront, you just want to go see it, don't go do that. Just, again, it's all about common courtesy, and it's all about common sense, and it's all about being there. This event is going to be a much smaller event than we're used to. What's deceptive about this event is that we're outside of the cone. And generally what we've been trained into is if we're inside of the cone, we got to pay attention. If we're outside of the cone, we don't. This is not one of those events, as Ken was saying to you, and if you listen to the National Weather Service, because of what happens outside of the cone with rain events and water events and slosh models, even if we're not inside the cone, this could potentially have a serious impact, as we said, from 1 to 3 or all the way up to 12. And if we get a lot of rain in a very short period of time that approximates that higher amount, you are going to have significant flooding in the city of New Orleans. Everybody in the city knows where it is that floods. Again, we're not prepared to call off tomorrow. I mean, I think everybody can generally go about their business. Use your discretion. If you want to keep your kids out of camp, you can, but they're going to go on unless and until we communicate to you later. But it's just one of these things where everybody has to be aware. Everybody has to take precautions, and everybody's got to have a plan in the event that we need it, because this could potentially move 1 or 2 degrees, and if it does, we could be in harm's way. And the bands are going to come in and go out, so just when it calms down, you may wind up suffering the consequences there as well. So it's just going to require us to be vigilant, do what we always do, and if we do that, everybody ought to be okay. Yes.
This is probably either for Cedric or Ken. Is there a sense of how much the hourly rainfall is going to overtake the drainage system capacity? In a worst case scenario, I guess.
Yeah, those rainfall totals, we're looking at those rainfall totals over the whole period. So today through Thursday night, Friday, we're looking at the potential on the upper end being that 10, 12 plus on the worst case scenario part of it. So that comes over a period of time. And usually what happens in these systems is you get, a rain band come through, you get some heavy rain, and you get a little break in between. The part that I worry about the most in these systems is those areas where the rain bands just continuously flow. We saw some of those in previous systems where you could get a little higher rainfall totals in there. So we'll be watching those close. But it looks like on the worst end we're up to 10 to 12, and that's why our agency always says turn around, don't drown. The situation that you can't tell what's road and what's ditch. So you may think you're okay, but then you go into a ditch and you can't see it underneath the water. So that's the big threat here. It's going to be the rainfall with whatever flooding we get.
Good, Jeff. The way the system works, the system is on and it will pump 1 inch of rain the first hour and 1/2 inch every hour after that. As Ken has indicated, if we have bands where the rain is constant, it will continue to rise, and we'll just have to try and catch up. If we have these periods when it's relaxed, we can catch, the system catches up to it. So again, people need to be very observant in their own particular neighborhoods in relation to those kinds of events. But if there's a continuous flow of rain in these bands, please be very careful and stay in your homes.
I don't think this is an exaggeration, but we have the most robust pumping system in the world. And it works really, really well. And it's got supplies of energy and it has redundancy now. But there's no system that can take more than so much rainfall in a short period of time. That's where the danger is. And so if we get hit really, really hard for a prolonged period of time, that's when the streets are gonna start to flood. The pumps will catch up with them, but everybody in the city knows where that is. So again, if you see that happening, we've had this event happen many, many times, just don't test it. Just let it, the water will go down. But we can't tell you right now because we just don't know how Mother Nature is gonna act, which one of those things we're gonna get. It's likely that we're gonna get a lot of it, it's likely that we're gonna get a little, we just don't know. This is why everybody's gotta be vigilant and pay attention.
Any
Anybody
last
else?
questions? All right, thank you.
Thank y'all so much, and everybody, thank y'all for your work, we appreciate it.